Hi, I'm Stan Ajemian. I'm Director of Education for ICF Colorado, and I'm here today with Melissa Ford, who will be our speaker for our August 8th chapter meeting. And she's going to be discussing how to set our fees with confidence. So Melissa Ford is a master life and business coach who helps people grow their leadership impact, income, and joy. Her clients range from highly committed coaches and entrepreneurs to executives and caring career changers. With years of experience as a professional coach, service is the cornerstone of everything she does. This value shines through in her books, Living Service, The Journey of a Prosperous Coach, and as a contributing author to the #1 bestseller, When All Boats Rise, 12 coaches on service as the heart of a thriving practice. Melissa loves spending time with family and friends, as well as enjoying the beauty of her favorite windy city, Chicago. So Melissa, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, Stan, I'm so happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. Not just this one, but the one in August with your group.
Great. Yeah, thank you. I just want to start by saying, thank you for sending me your book, and I love your book. It really, as a new coach myself, it is so wonderful to hear how normal it is to struggle with getting clients and setting fees and figuring out the business of coaching, not just the how to do a coaching session. And I love your vulnerability in sharing your struggles, as well as obviously the tips and tricks and sort of how the wisdom you're sharing. But really, I love that you share your entire, your real journey to get to where you are today. And I think, can you share a little bit for the people listening to this interview, this conversation, how you got to where you are today, and who do you serve today, and what's your practice look like, and how you got here?
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for the compliment on the book. When I decided I was going to write that book, it didn't come because I thought, well, I'll write this book and everybody's going to love it and it's going to help everybody. All I could think of was I didn't have a choice. I felt compelled to write it because I had been on my own journey with growing myself to grow my coaching business. And I wanted to coach. I loved coaching, but I wasn't so interested in the client creation side of things, creating the clients, getting the clients, or even running the business. And I had no idea how to get a client. So I had years of avoidance, lots of fear that was hid behind a mask of I had it together. I couldn't fill groups. I would run groups with a friend of mine, and we'd end up filling the group with her family and friends because we couldn't sell the group. I didn't know how to create one-on-one clients. So what I finally did was I hired a coach, and that was a big step for me because prior to that, I didn't ask for any help. I was just going to figure this thing out on my own. I wrote the book because I had seen so many coaches who had struggled, but yet they kept that really close to their chest. Really, nobody's going to know how bad this is. And I was one of those. So I wrote the book because I thought, well, if we could just normalize this experience, what it really takes. And for some of us, it takes a little bit longer and it's a little harder, but what it takes, and we could all just kind of cut ourselves some slack, get back into the game of learning how to create clients and being exceptional at what we do so that what we deliver really does make a difference in someone's lives. So that's what the book was about. And it like I said, I didn't know anything about getting clients, had no idea. And I spent many years blaming other people for my inability to get clients. On the hit list, of course, was my husband, and he wasn't providing the support I needed. And then my business partner, all these reasons that were really just inability to take responsibility for something that I was really afraid to do. And I think that I've seen coaches do this where they're so passionate about what they do. It seems like the more passionate they are, the more challenging it is to make this thing happen. I don't know, there seems to be a correlation there. So that was me back in the day. And I hired a coach who said to me, Melissa, the way that you're going to create clients is you're going to do it through serving someone. And I didn't know what that meant. And he said, service is you're going to help somebody before they pay you, which I thought was a really bad business idea because I wanted to be a paid professional coach. So pay me, then I'll help you. And what I was told was help somebody first, make a difference, have them really experience coaching so that it isn't a concept you're trying to sell, because nobody's going to make a decision to work with you based on a concept. They're going to have to see that life changes. Do that, and you will have as many clients as you want, which I thought was some crazy dream. But I went along and I took this journey with this man. He's my coach to today. He retires at the end of this year. So I've worked with this man 15 years. And thank goodness that he showed up, because service changed how I grew myself, how I lived my life, how I ran my business, how I created clients, and how I set my fees. So today, I'm still learning. It's still service-based. I still get some harsh lessons from time to time, but that's okay. And I work with, as you pointed out, I work with coaches who are really committed to having thriving businesses. And I work with leaders. So my new interest is moved into helping leaders establish their own style of leadership, up-level their communication, get off the busy track and slow down, and enjoy their leadership and contribution. So that's me today.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you talked about service. And in the short time I've known you, I've been in conversation with you, it's so obvious that generosity and service is just who you are. And and I'm gonna use your word in this when asking this question. What are you obsessed with today that you want to share with us?
Yeah. I'm on a new kick. It's all about obsession. And I came across that because there's a British author whose name is Neil Gaiman. And he said, you can trust your obsessions, follow them. And funnily, my obsessions were the things that I really didn't like in the beginning. So I'm obsessed with coaches becoming professional coaches, learning how to create clients through service, and being paid well for their work. So I'm obsessed about that. I love it. This is such an area of freedom and expression and joy, and people really learning that what they want in terms of a business that works for them, they can create it. So that's what I'm obsessed about. Of course, I'm obsessed with fees, because fees are an area that coaches feel a lot of discomfort around. There's a lot of personal thinking about my worth, my ability. Am I impressive? Do I look like an expert? I don't want to come off looking too greedy. What will people think if I undercharge, overcharge? Who am I to even ask this fee? Why don't people pay me my value? There's all of this going on, including those people can't afford this. All the stories we project on people about what they can and cannot afford. So what I wanted to do was have this discussion with the coaches at ICF Colorado and start to really look at what is the personal thinking that gets in our way of setting a fee that we love, that's nice and strong, that fits who we are today on our journey, because it can always go up. It can go down too. We're in charge of it. And how do we do it in a more impersonal, objective way so we can disentangle ourselves from the thinking that keeps us stuck and lacking creativity and a willingness to set aside getting a fee right and start testing out more creative ways of offering our proposals and plans of action.
Yeah, that's awesome. Fees are such they're kind of like the hidden shadow of this work. Or people, we all worry about our fees, and yet nobody really talks about fees. It's kind of like, yeah. So, so in your book, there was one thing that I really resonated with, which was the game you played around service, and how you turned service, like how you turned your whole coaching business into a game of just serving people without overt care about the outcome.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm just curious if there's a game we could play with regards to fees that would be, similar to that you would suggest.
Yeah, well, in our 90 minutes together, what I'm going to have everybody do after we have a breakout room and talk about what our process is for setting fees, and after questions get asked and answered, I'm really excited about people who are veteran coaches showing up and people who are new coaches, because we can all learn from each other. So after all of that and discussion about the 4 distinctions I'm going to bring in, I'm also going to bring in a visual tool called the Ladder of Consciousness. By the way, I want to recognize that that tool and these distinctions are things I've learned from my coach, Steve Chandler. So hats off to Steve. And I've just taken this and made it my own. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about those 4 distinctions. I'm going to see if I can recall what they are. It's trying to set the right fee versus willing to experiment or test something out. It's about my worth versus the usefulness of the work. It's about asking versus offering. And as you can see, there's a theme here in these distinctions. One is all about me and me personally and how I might be perceived. And the other one is up-leveled thinking. It's a higher level of consciousness that has us getting out of our own thinking and having us out in someone else's world. So that when I'm talking to you, Stan, and I'm telling you what it would look like for the 2 of us to work together, I don't have any thought about how I'm coming off. So I'm going to offer these distinctions. And after all this conversation, I'd like people to create their own game, because everybody's got a different area of stuckness when it comes around fees. And I want people to be able to see what that area is and then create a game for themselves that they can play in the next 30 days. And the game is going to be about taking action, even if you're uncomfortable, because games, the more you play them, the easier it is to play. And then the other bit is to show up curious rather than needing to win. So to be curious around what happens when I see myself as offering my proposal rather than asking for something. What shifts? So it's really about a game of learning and growing yourself. So that's what we're going to be doing.
So we're going to have a chance to actually practice this in the session, in the chapter meeting?
I'm going to say yes. And so I'm going to have to write that down and work that into my program. Absolutely.
That sounds exciting. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's great. Let me make a quick note.
Yes. Yeah, because I mean, it's one thing to hear the 4 pillars. I can't remember your word for it, but the 4 pillars, and to hear the wisdom from you and from Steve Chandler and so on. But it's another thing to really sort of embody this and practice this. So it sounds like we're going to have some real great time to work on our own issues and our own limiting beliefs around fees. It's wonderful.
Yeah, good. And anytime we work around limiting beliefs, what I've noticed over the years is I can spend lots and lots of time thinking about my limiting beliefs, but the thinking about them really doesn't change them. It's actually getting into action. And that's what I want for the group. I want people to be able to start doing something differently, testing it out, and see what results they get. See what they see about their fee and how money commits their prospective client. Like, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. You were mentioning before when we were talking offline about stuff that questions we might ponder before this event and so on. Just wondering if you have anything to share with us, like how can we prepare ourselves so that we can get the most out of the event?
Okay, so I'm glad you bring it up, because for years I did not see the responsibility I had for my own learning. So when I first hired my coach, I was very much a passive participant, hoping that he would instill some wisdom in me or give me his 5 simple steps to client creation, have a transactional relationship, and then he's out, I'm out, and I go kill the game at client enrollment. And it didn't work out that way. And every time I renewed with him, I saw an opportunity to be 5% less passive in my participation. So how you can get the most out of this is listen to this conversation. I'm going to be providing for everybody a few chapters, some excerpts. I'm not saying it correctly. Excerpts from my book. Read those. Read them a couple of times. And when you read it, don't read it as information. Read it with through the lens of inquiry. How might this chapter apply to me? So you're not reading for information. You're not reading to see if you agree or disagree with me. You're really looking for, where might this apply to me? So I'd prep that way. Also, I'm going to hop on Basecamp and I'm going to provide some questions for people to reflect in advance on what is their relationship to setting fees? How do they set those fees? They're not getting the fee that they'd like. What keeps them from setting a higher fee or a lower fee? Just give it some time so when you show up, you're ready to play, you're ready to ask questions, and you've already attended the 90-minute session. You're ready to go. Just how you'd like your clients to show up to their coaching sessions. You do that.
That sounds great. I'm really looking forward to this. I just want to, so thank you so much, Melissa, for sharing your insights today and a little bit about your journey. And I'm so looking forward to our conversation in August. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who's listening to this this little conversation here. If the chapter meeting that we're talking about will be held on the evening of August 8th. And as always, if you haven't registered, I invite you to go to ICF Colorado to the chapter events page, and you can register there. And so again, Melissa's going to be on Basecamp before and after the event. If anyone has any conversation or questions, I really look forward to seeing everybody there. And thank you again, Melissa Ford, for being with us today.
Thanks, Jan. I'm looking forward to August.